Good morning po sir, good afternoon or good evening. My name is Santiago Suki Silveo, and before I start answering the questions you're providing now sa summative assessment, I just want to say thank you po dahil napakagaling niyo pong magturo. You are very determined and you are very sincere po. So, I am grateful po na naging professor po kita. So, first question po, what is the principle of the rule of law? So, rule of law states that the citizens and even government officials shall be bounded by the law. So, they should follow the law and they should act in accordance with the law. Second, in what way does judicial review promote the rule of law? So, before I start answering this question, let me first define what is judicial review. So, judicial review is the ultimate power to interpret the Constitution. It is to determine whether, if or not, there has been a grave abuse of discretion among government instrumentalities or government entities. It is to determine whether the acts committed by the executive or the laws enacted by the Congress are constitutional or not. So, in that sense, the judicial review promotes the rule of law in a sense that it is to police the powers of the legislative and executive branches of the government. It avoids tyranny in the government as the powers are limited by the judicial review, as it has the power to void any unconstitutional actions they make. So it is to limit the powers of the abusing government officials, and by that, they are to act in accordance with the law. Third, in what sense is the living constitution incompatible with the rule of law? So before I start answering this question, let me first state what is the living constitution. So in order for the constitution to adapt into our never-ending change in our lives, then therefore the constitution must be interpreted as a living organism. So the justices, the judges are to be given the power to interpret the constitution with the use of their own understanding, with the use of their own moral philosophies or moral preferences. And by that, it is seen that judges or justices do make or change laws as their discretion is to be followed. So by that, it is incompatible with the rule of law, as according to our Constitution, the job of the court is only to interpret the provisions of the Constitution and apply it into specific cases, and not to write or to change the law, as it is the job of the legislative branch of the government. Besides that, if the living constitution is to be followed, it is therefore a rule of man and not a rule of law. For according to the rule of law, the ideas, opinions, beliefs, no matter how good they are, they cannot replace the letters and the spirit of the law. Fourth, is the retributive theory of punishment compatible with the rule of law? Explain. No, it is incompatible with the rule of law, as the retributive theory of punishment focuses on the moral blameworthiness of an act. So moral blameworthiness does not coincide with the principles of the rule of law. So in order to determine this moral blameworthiness, there is a need to first determine the motives of that transgressor, his personal or social background, and the condition he has when the time he has committed that act. So those factors are excluded in our criminal justice system, and it is therefore incompatible with the rule of law. So why? So rule of law requires that criminal guilt and innocence be determined by rules that clearly demarcate conduct that is prohibited from conduct that is allowed. So rule of law requires a clear law. It is specific, objective, definite, and determinate. A clear warning is shown, a clear sanction, and a clear prohibition of an act. Last question, is rule of law a myth according to Jerome Frank? Yes, it is a myth. He may not directly claim that it is a myth, but his book does claim it indirectly. So remember, according to the rule of law, the spirit of the law, the written characters of the law are clear, and it is therefore not replaceable with the opinions, ideas, and beliefs, no matter how good they are. So that statement is in contradictory with the basic legal myth stated in the book of Jerome Frank. So what is the basic legal myth? First, so the basic legal myth states that laws are clear, certain, and definite. But that is a myth, because in real life, laws are unclear. They are vague in meaning. They are indefinite. They are uncertain. And by that, As rule of law stated again, the spirit of the law, the written letters of the law is clear. But however, the uncertainty and the vagueness of the law, according to Frank, contradicts it. Besides that, the myth that judges do not make laws is also in conflict with the rule of law, as in reality, judges do make or change laws. So, the judge is to ascertain the meaning of an unclear provision of the law. And therefore, again, the judge is using his ideas, opinions, and beliefs in interpreting that provision of a law. And again, rule of law states that the spirit of the law, the written letters of the law, is clear and meaning, and it is not irreplaceable by the opinions, ideas, and beliefs that somebody does.